So Steve in Brooklyn, another Steve, who is our second theist of the day. That's interesting.
Good.
Steve? Or, yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What's up?
Basically, I wanted to bring something up that would be kind of pretty interesting, and maybe you could apply in a way to the Paris, France, whatever's happening, or even some of the things that are happening even in this country. They did a survey in Norway and Sweden that there's a little bit more atheist populations, and that they say that there are more religious people in jail than there are atheists, and that there are more religious people that commit crimes and violence. And they're saying that if there were more atheist populations in the world, we would see less crime and violence and less people in jail.
I don't necessarily think that.
You have to be a little bit careful. The idea of people who are religious committing more crimes would be a different issue than are more people in jail religious. For example, here in the United States, you can score brownie points in your release and how well you're, when you get like when you go for parole. If you're like involved and active with your little religious group in the jailhouse or whatever in the prison, sometimes that counts towards you to kind of help you out. So
yeah. So if you declare that you've converted to a religion while in prison, you can get more likely to be let out early.
Yeah. So they may not; those stats may not be clearly trustworthy, and I don't know what the prison, like how they do the prison reviews in other countries, but I know that here that those kind of programs in the prison can count as like you doing some social good things.
Okay, but go on. What were you saying?
But would you guys say that like even over here in this country, in the U.S., that if there were maybe more atheists, you would see more or less crime and violence compared to what we see now?
I'm not willing to say that. I think a lot of atheists would jump to say that.
It would be like one less ideology that would drive violence.
Yeah.
But I don't know that something wouldn't raise a head to take its place. I don't know if the people that are violent and religious would find some other outlet for their violence. Or if, I don't know, like, does their religion make them violent, or are they violent people who found religion and now they have this excuse to be violent because they've got a cause that supports their tendencies?
I think it's possibly true, but I couldn't, the best you could do is survey countries that have fewer religious people and see if they have less violence. And I think in general they do, but then it's hard to take that as the final word on the matter because there are a lot of other differences between those countries. It's hard to do sociology because it's hard to have control groups.
Yes, you can only do observational studies, and they're hard to, like he says, they're hard to control, and so you just have to hope that you've taken into account any sort of like confounding factors.
Do you think, Tracie, I want to ask you a question. Do you think the crucifix and the Bible are worthless and meaningless?
Worthless and meaningless? Well, I don't think they're meaningless.
The Bible's useful as literature.
I mean, they have meaning clearly to lots and lots of people. I mean, even in art, you can provoke like horribly angry reaction by using a crucifix, which to me demonstrates that it does have a lot of meaning to people.
No, but I mean like from the atheist viewpoint. Would the crucifix and Bible be considered to atheists worthless and meaningless?
The Bible does not have particularly strong meaning to atheists. Like any other book, it can be read and mined for interesting, good quotes that you can make use of, but I don't feel that the Bible is better as a life reference than, let's say, Homer's Odyssey.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got like a big foundation for Western literature and Western media, like art in general is based on it, like in a huge way. So, I mean, to me, the idea of understanding how those messages are interpreted by the society drives being able to understand references in the society around you that are tied to that particular, history and foundation.
No, because one time, Tracie, you mentioned once on the past show that you went like to the library of your college or whatever, and you said that the Bible is like crap, and I was just trying to see if maybe that could relate to that.
What I was trying to express was that I had been taught that the Bible was the Word of God, and that it had somehow been, put together by God or driven by God to be put together. And when I went to look it up, I found out that all of that was crap. Basically, what I'd been told by the church did not stand up to scrutiny. But as far as the literature, I think I've talked a lot about the influence of the Bible and Christian messages in media. I did like a 2 episodes on Batman Begins and how there were religious messages and themes in there, and they used like the Christ figure. And I would love to do another program on I, Robot with Will Smith, where they definitely are using like the Christ figure, the Adam figure. They have it's just pervasive religious.
Can you use the original
methodology.
Asimov novel?
I read the original Asimov novel, and I went for years not looking at the movie because I thought I would hate it. And it doesn't claim to be the novel; it claims to be influenced
by
it.
Sorry, taking you off topic.
I felt like that they did hit the primary message, though, of Asimov's original book, that the idea of autonomy. And when something can express its desires, like at what point do you have an obligation to, I guess, consider that thing capable of invoking its own rights, which I think both movies really touched on that. Or both, I guess, stories. But anyway, the point is...
As far as the Bible goes.
There's, like, when you watch I, Robot, there's a few scenes where they lead you towards something. And if you understand these particular religious themes in literature, you know they're not going to go there. Like, this person will... Like, that Will Smith will administer the nanites, not the robot. You know that... the person on the mountain delivering the speech is not the robot, it is Will Smith, before the robot reveals that. They kind of lead you down that little path, and they say, like, there's a woman that asks the robot, is that you? And the robot says, why do you ask? Is that a common dream? And then he turns to Will Smith and says, no, it's you. If you understand the Christ figure and the Adam figure and what's going on, you already know that can't be the robot on the mountaintop. And so, to me, it has a lot of meaning, and it's important to understand it if you're going to understand the society around you more fully. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the movie if you don't realize these things. It doesn't, somebody could really love it and wouldn't faze them.
Well, Tracie, I wanted to ask you quickly, do you think that atheists who want to desecrate, like, the crucifix and Bible or, like, maybe other religious symbols, you think in private, if they want to, you think they should or they should not?
In private, if they want to? I don't care what they do in private to any icon.
I think they should be allowed to do that.
They should be able to do it publicly. I mean,
sure.
I've been to art exhibits where things, were sacred symbols. I mean, to me, the sacred and the profane, that is one of the most... I mean, art should be provocative and it should be thought-provoking. When you have something that takes a sacred symbol and desecrates that in some way, it's really interesting to me because sometimes what's done, really, it's a question of whether or not it's even desecrated. The people that are getting pissed off are assuming that it's been desecrated, but really it's just been put usually with some sort of mundane symbol or profane symbol. And when you put the two alongside each other, there's this contrast that just flips people out. And to me, that's some of the best art, when you have something that just, just evokes this huge reaction from the society. But when I walk through a picket line to go and see an art exhibit, I love that. That to me means that I'm going to see something that really shook people up, and that artist came up with something that impacted the society, and that was meaningful. It doesn't
necessarily make it good.
It doesn't make, it makes it good in that they came up with something that would be evocative, and not all art does that. A lot of art just looks good over your sofa. I mean, it's really sad, but.
Well, I mean, an anti-Semitic cartoon with a Jewish guy abducting a child is evocative. That doesn't necessarily like being provoking and iconoclastic doesn't necessarily mean that the message is worthwhile.
Right, and I guess that would be derivative too, though. I mean, anybody can be derivative. I could do like a copy of somebody else's evocative art, and that's not really very creative of me. I mean, but when someone produces something that's not been done, that they put that out, and it really, really evokes a reaction.
Right.
It's an interesting thing how people interpret it. They put their own meaning on it. There's no explanation under the artwork, that's telling people what it means. They come up with their own meaning, piss themselves off. It's really interesting.
No, but Tracie, there was a movie called The Lair of the White Worm, and I hope a lot of atheists see it. And there was a Hollywood actress that there's a scene in the movie there where there's a crucifix on the wall, and she like spits at it and she laughs at it. And I don't know if you guys saw that movie, The Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah, but I've heard of it.
And basically they had a news article on her, and they said that she enjoyed it and she's happy and proud of it.
Okay.
Hey, that's her interpretation. I mean,
if you're calling to ask us to condemn that, we're going to disappoint you.
yeah, it's just symbols. These are symbols being used, and the symbols do have meaning, and when people use them in certain ways, they have different meanings to different people. You know, I went and saw Monty Python's Life of Brian. I had to walk through a picket line for that the first time I saw it in the theater. And when I saw it, I was a Christian, and I was not offended at all by the film. And I felt like that the signs that I had to walk through completely misunderstood that message. I didn't feel like the movie was at all desecrating Christianity. I felt like it was actually kind of positive when it came to Jesus specifically. And you know, it was like all about it was mocking believers, not Jesus. You know, and same with Last Temptation of the Christ. I mean, I just thought that movie was amazing. And there were a lot of people who were offended by that film, and I thought it was brilliant. And to me, there was nothing, I didn't think it was a negative, like, anti-Christian film at all. Like, when I watched it, the message that I got was, like, very, very just interesting. Loved, I think it was, what's his name, that played Paul, or, oh my gosh.
Goblin.
The guy that played Paul was so good. Well, no, not Jesus, but the guy that played Paul that's in all the Tarantino films.
Willem Dafoe, that's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, but the guy that did Paul was, I just thought, brilliant, especially at the end when he goes in and he's like so fired up.
We're running out of time. Do you have a specific question, or do you just want to bring up these things which may or may not be offensive?
Wasn't Paul.
Well, no, I just quickly want to say, Tracie, that I saw atheists had videos on the internet where, you know, like they took the crucifix and the Bible. There's also videos out there, and they like stepped on it, they spit on it, you know, they pissed on it, and maybe even burned the Bible and the cross. And I just wanted to know what you guys think of some things like that.
Yeah, at least it's symbols and not people. Like, you know, it used to be that heretics like us were burned and spit on and
I don't
killed.
think it's particularly sophisticated criticism, if that's what you're asking.
Sure.
But I also think that people should have the right to do it.
No, because I want to let you guys know I became an atheist myself.
Oh, okay.
I used to be Catholic.
Oh, you used to be Catholic.
I've spoken to you a few times.
This note was wrong. Were you Catholic when you called before?
He was like kind of on the fence. He was questioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, right. And no, I just, you know, my father passed away. He was 92 back 2 months ago, and I became atheist. And basically, you think maybe this is a bad sign that, you know, when I became an atheist, that maybe I'm getting some kind of punishment? You think?
No.
You think that's possible?
I'm sorry for your loss, but things just happen. I mean, you know, 92-year-olds have been known to die. I don't want to be flippant about it, because I'm sure you loved your father very much. But no, I don't believe that it's a sign from the universe. Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, it's not like your life is going to stop having events that occur just because you convert or deconvert. I mean, I could convert to a religion and have somebody die, and I mean, it doesn't mean that it's because I converted. Or I could go have pizza tomorrow night and get a call that my brother was in a horrible car accident and died, and I wouldn't think it was because I ordered a pizza, right? I mean.
No, I just want to let you guys know I'm happy to be an atheist because you have the freedom, you become a free thinker. And basically, you look at everything in society differently now.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, good.
You know, and basically, the only thing is, when I went like to a humanist group, because I'm also a humanist as well.
Yeah.
They're telling atheists for some reason to go to Unitarian Universalist churches, and I just want to get your feedback on that.
Unitarian churches are generally mostly secular. Some of them might have kind of a vague belief in a sort of a new age.
They're just super inclusive. And I think it's kind of probably what's going on is if you don't have like a strong humanist group or presence that allows for a lot of social interaction with other people who are secular, the Unitarian Universalist churches often offer that. Like, they give you all kinds of fun things that are social that you can go and participate in. And I think mostly the few interactions I've had, it's just been about just inclusiveness. You know, they just kind of get together, and whether you believe, whether you don't believe, it really doesn't matter. We're going to go have a picnic, and the kids are going to go color, and they teach like a lot of little, like the kids, you know, get these little be a good citizen kind of messages, and it's, you know, it's just sort of like a happy, inclusive place if you are looking for a social outlet.
Yeah.
Right, but basically, there's nothing to gain. It's almost like going to another church again. And
well,
right?
some people want the social, the social aspects.
You can
of
go if
religion.
you want, or don't go if you don't want. Nobody's going to think that you're a bad person.
I mean, let's say that you're a person who, for example, participated socially like a lot in your church, and you did like organize the choir, and you did like a lot of the potlucks, and you were there, you went to the like card night, you know, and had a fun time. And if you're doing all these things with these people at your church, and then you become an atheist, sometimes you can't do those things anymore, and so you lose a lot of your social contacts and outlets. And so a lot of people are like, well, I didn't want to stop, I didn't want to become a hermit, I just don't believe in God anymore.
Right.
And so
you know what? One good thing about becoming an atheist, coming from Catholic religion, which I was into for so many years because I'm 42 years old. Basically, it takes out the fear and the paranoia that you had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly
Although,
can.
I mean, obviously, there's still some lingering stuff, like worrying about whether you're being punished.
Yeah, and some people don't get past the fear. They lose their belief in God, and they still have these weird, irrational phobias about hell, and, you know, God's going to hurt them, and they don't understand why. A lot of people, sometimes they feel almost guilty about it, and they'll write to us saying, you know, what am I doing wrong that I'm still scared of this? And it's just like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel betrayed and kind of disgusted of, you know, the lies and the myths and the organized superstition that it was or is. And that's why even like I was even thinking of, I don't know if I could say this on air, but if you take a crucifix and Bible, they say sometimes if you do something like that, you get, you actually, you know, if you do desecration, supposedly it's a catharsis for people who have something that it still like has a control over you.
Maybe.
You think that?
I think
it depends on the person.
I think people who have been through psychologically trying events maybe put too much stock in the idea that there's going to be some kind of closure to it. 'Cause, you know, that happens a lot in the movies, but real life doesn't work that way. I think the only way to eventually get over a lifetime of religious indoctrination is to just go on living your life and gradually move away from it. But having said that, if you want to do something horrible to a Bible, don't let us stop you. And we're out of time. They've got the credits up. We're out of time. I got to hang up on you. No, seriously.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Okay,
but
thank you for calling.
By doing that.
I mean it. We're out of time, and it's been a great show. Nice to have you here, Tracie.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to be here.
And we'll be on again next week. Bye. And we'll take a few calls after.
Yeah, after show.
After show.